Like so many of you, I'm extremely heartbroken and really at a loss of word with the deadly shooting at Robb Elementary in Uvalde. Grief, as we all know, overwhelms the soul. For too many families in Uvalde yesterday, parents poured, unfortunately, their final bowl of cereal, watched their kids tie their shoe for the last time, and even in some cases watch their kids go to the bus stop for the last time. So many families woke up this morning with sorrow. All of us, behind me, board members and law enforcement, feel that same pain. Parents send their children into our classrooms every day with the hope of welcoming them back a little brighter, a little sharper, happier, that they've had an opportunity to spend time in our schools. I'm going to turn it over in just a little bit to Chief Rogers to talk a little bit about how HISD is ensuring that kids are safe while they're in our care. Even though it may not feel like today in particular, many of you have the thought of keeping your children home because of the most recent issues in Uvalde and at Robb Elementary, which is completely understandable. We want to share some tips in just a little bit around what it is to talk to your children and how to work with them during these difficult times. I'm, of course, a superintendent entrusted with the hope and promise of your children being safe and learning on an everyday basis. But first and foremost, I'm a dad, and I'm a dad of a fourth grade student as well, and a junior in high school. As we know, these students were in fourth grade, so it hits an even a more emotional place knowing that these students were just like my son that comes home on a daily basis. As a parent, you may be struggling with how to talk to your children about this tragedy. It's extremely important to remember that children look up to their parents to make them feel safe. This is true no matter what age your child is. They are toddlers, whether they're adolescents, they look up to you as adults. They look up to us as educators, as adults as well. Now, talking to your children about their worries, their concern is the first step to help them feel safe and begin to cope with the events occurring most recently. What you talk about and how you say it does depend on their age, but all children need to be able to know you are listening and you are there. Start the conversation. Let them know you are interested in hearing them and you want to know what's on their mind. These kinds of things will help them cope in situations like this. It's important to find time when they're most likely to talk. As a father, I try to do that while riding in the car, before dinner, bedtime. It may be a little bit different for those of you that are out there, but find that right time. Listen to their thoughts and their point of views. Don't interrupt them. Allow them to express their ideas and understanding before you respond. Listen for misinformation, misperceptions, and gently correct those once your child has had the opportunity to share their thoughts. Express your own opinion and ideas without putting down theirs. It's extremely important to let them be heard and then let them hear from you. Acknowledge that it's okay to disagree. Reinforce ideas of safety and security. Now, it's important that our community knows and understand that at HISD we utilize the Sandy Hook Say Something app. The training is provided to our 6th through 12th graders, but is available to all students and parents for use. I encourage you to use the app. It allows for the anonymous reporting of tips and live counselors available for support in 26 different languages. This particular app is something that instills 3 simple yet powerful steps. Number 1, how to look for those warning signs of threats. Number 2, how to act immediately. And number 3, how to tell a trusted adult when some of those concerns come to the table. Now, after you provide as much information that you have about safety and mental health concerns, the next steps that this app can provide, or that our schools can provide, is a crisis counselor. Crisis counselor may be able to review information and reply to tips with a private chat message in this app. A chat anonymously will be provided to have that conversation with the crisis counselor and answer any follow-up questions as well. Crisis counselor lets you know once they've gathered all of the information that they need. If you learn any new information, you can come back and have more chat with the crisis counselor and be provided with more insights, whether it's through the app or at school. You know, one of the things that I do want to say, I was actually at a school this morning, and middle school, and had the opportunity to run into a father of a middle school daughter, and he was just standing outside of the school. And I, along with my colleague, asked him, is there anything we can do to help? He looked distressed, and he said, I'm scared. He said, I'm very bothered with what happened at Robb Elementary, and I'm scared. So I'm choosing to try to call my child, and she's not answering. And what I'll say to those parents that have that same emotion is that we are doing everything to ensure that the safety and security of your children is A1 in HISD. We actually have a safety and security. Wasn't something that we did yesterday or even the day before. We have regular meetings scheduled, our safety and security committee meetings. We happen to have one today, so that we'll be reviewing our security measures and taking a close look. What I will say to our teachers and administrators in HISD is just a thank you. It's not just for what we're dealing with in the United States and Texas and Uvalde and Robb today. It's thank you for what you do every day. Many of our teachers and administrators have students just like I do, have kids of their own. But they chose to come to those classrooms to be the support system that many of our students need, because many of them have emotions around what's going on and what the future will look like. With that being said, I'd like to pass it over to Chief Rogers for some comments as well.
Good morning. My name is Assistant Chief Lucretia Rogers. I'm speaking on behalf of Chief Lopez in his absence. I want to echo what Mr. House has said, that we take all threats and our safety of our kids very seriously. I want to speak to today on the safety measures that we have in place right now that will keep us vigilant and keeping our students safe. We have also reached out to our law enforcement partners as well as the FBI. There's actually right now not any credible threats to any of our campuses, but we are remaining vigilant to keep our kids safe. Let me speak to our training that our officers go through so that we'll give an idea as to what we actually do. So we do active shooter training annually where we do 3-man scenarios. We put them through real life scenarios when it comes to active shooter drills. And then we also train with our risk management, who also actually push that same information out to our campus administrators so that everybody is all on the same page, and it's a coordinated effort to keep our kids safe. So it's not just the police department, it's actually our teachers, our students are involved, as well as we have also enlisted the community as well. Last month, we actually had our officers and several other law enforcement agencies attend AIR, that's Active Attack Integrated Response Training, and that also helps us with real life scenarios to keep our kids safe. We're working to actually beef up our emergency response team. And that will be actually occurring in July. So we do have some measures in place that we're working on. We do training. Our officers are well prepared, but we can never prepare enough. So we consistently keep doing what we need to do in order to ensure that. Lastly, I want to echo what Mr. House has said about we rely on our students, our staff, and all the community members to let us know when there's dangers in the community. We ask that you report any suspicious activity, whether that's a door open, somebody suspicious driving by in a car, whatever the case may be. If it's suspicious, we're asking that you alert law enforcement so that we can get involved and mitigate that situation. Lastly, I want to provide the numbers that people can reach out to if we do notice suspicious activity. Our dispatch center, the phone number to that department is going to be 713-892-7777, or you can definitely dial 911 and they will direct the call to our dispatch center. Also, Mr. House spoke to Sandy Hook. We actually have a tip line that our students actually use on a regular basis, and that tip line number is 1-844-57-9669, or you can use the app to actually put that information in, and someone from our hotline center will give you a call. Lastly, I just want to re-echo what Mr. House has said, that our thoughts, our prayers are with the citizens in the community of Uvalde. Thank you.
I, along with Assistant Chief Rogers, would be glad to take a few questions before we conclude the press conference.
I know you mentioned some feedback from the parents today. You said you yourself were a parent. What was that like just this morning for you, your kids, and send them all on the school day today?
You know, as I indicated before, what's most important is that you have that conversation and you have a platform of understanding. I take my son to the bus stop every morning. We are there bright and early at 6:15 for him to be picked up, and he had the question in the car that will something like that ever happen in our school, and it was important for him to understand that we will do everything in our power that our safety and our security is A1, and I don't think that was anything different at Robb Elementary and Uvalde. But making sure that conversation is available and that you listen and provide the insight, because again, students look up to the adults in their lives, whether that's the adult in their home or the adult at the school. I just deplore that we all be those parents, be those adults that are listening and that can provide that insight and security.
Superintendent, going into the next safety meeting, is there anything top of mind for you when it comes to making these schools more secure? Anything that you plan to bring up or conversations that have already come up?
I think one of the things that will be extremely important, we know that when it comes to safety and security, a lot of it is about adult behavior. But there are things that are about operational expenses as well. So we'll be taking a look at what things that we can do from an operational standpoint, but those are not things that can happen overnight, whether it be a bond issue in the future. But we want to talk about all the different things that will allow us to ensure that we have the safest campuses possible.
And just a quick follow-up, is there an officer on every single campus?
We have officers on all of our secondary campuses throughout HISD. We have just under 200 total officers in the department as a whole. But we also partner, as Assistant Chief Rogers indicated, closely with our constables department, sheriff's department, HPD. The mayor and I spoke this morning about just this, and he shared his total support and what this looks like not only now but also in the future as we dive into our end of the year activities. He's agreed to provide additional support at many of our end of the year ceremonies, graduations, just to ramp up even more support.
And as of today, do you guys have increased security on campuses?
That's a part of what the mayor and I talked about, is just that extra patrol in different communities around schools. So I was very open to that, and we're very open to that support as well.
So it hasn't happened yet, but you're planning to.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Were you having the same discussion with like Bel Air, local municipalities like Bel Air, Westview as well?
we're open to conversations and having conversations with all law enforcement. It's important wherever we have schools, wherever we have children, that support needs to be and should be provided.
Superintendent, I'm sure you've heard some politicians talk about more officers on campuses, arming teachers, limiting entranceways, hardening schools. Are those any ideas that you and your chief are considering, or do you have any reaction to some of those ideas to make campuses safer?
Not necessarily, not from a political standpoint. Our focus is on teaching and learning and the safety and security of our students while they're on our campuses. We'll get into some of those conversations in our safety and security meeting later on this afternoon, but no comment in reference to the politics behind what this looks like right now.
What are some of your ideas that you're taking to your meeting today?
We want to look at, and even if Uvalde and Robb Elementary didn't happen, this meeting was on the books. And so that agenda is to really take a close look at, our intruder on campus drills, what we need to do when we have deviations of the plan and schools that need even more support. So this is a regularly scheduled occurrence in terms of this meeting, and we look forward to building on the safety and security measures that we have in place and making sure that, again, we have the safest schools possible for our children and for our community.
Superintendent, I was wondering if you could just talk a little about the emotional toll this has on teachers and the students, and just kind of the importance of talking that out and paying attention to that, because from what you were saying, you want these kids to be in school these last 2 weeks and be healthy and be able to be there and be learning, right?
It's definitely an emotional time. I can remember in 2012 when Sandy Hook occurred. I was the chief operating officer in Charlotte, and kind of emotionally what that meant for the community. So we know, unfortunately, because we've seen this on several occasions, that there is a cycle of emotion that not only adults go through, but students go through, all of us go through. So we feel more prepared from an emotional standpoint to be able to support our students through that. And we talked a little bit about it through our app and the crisis counselors that are available, our school counselors, our teachers. We feel that those adults are adults that are strongly encouraged and strongly focused on what it is to ensure that kids don't focus on this too much, but have the opportunity to share exactly where they are.
Are you guys providing any mental health resources at this time?
We've provided supports from a mental health standpoint for quite some time, not just through what we're seeing in Uvalde and at Robb, but through our wraparound supports, counseling on our campuses. We have to understand, of course, we've been through a pandemic, so a lot of what our students have seen over the course of the last couple of years required supports above and beyond what we've seen in previous years.
If the students were going to hear something related like either it's a joke or it's a threat or something like that, either it's on campus or at school or at home, what do they need to do to inform somebody?
If you hear something or you see something, you have to say something. It's extremely important. And our law enforcement, Chief Rogers, I'm sure would tell you that we take every threat seriously. We've been up here on this dais before, and I've shared with board members that are behind me that there's been a threat at X school. And even though we haven't had a threat that has materialized into a serious occurrence this year, we take each one of those threats seriously. It's closely investigated, and when there are findings, those findings are shared with my administration and the school to ensure that the safety and security of our students and community is, again, A1.
But what about if the kids are at home or somewhere else and they hear something like that? What the student, who do they need to communicate that to them?
We have the opportunity, kind of going back to what I said earlier, they can go through the app, they can call the phone number that Assistant Chief Rogers shared, reach out to their teachers, administration. There are several different avenues that are available for our parents and students to reach out to when there is a potential situation, potential threat or worry.
How many reports have you received through this app? You mentioned you've had success with it. Can you define that success?
I don't have that data with me at this time.
Politics aside, is there any consideration of arming and
That has not been under discussion.
Just any message to parents. Parents are feeling a lot of things, nervous, like you're talking about with that father you saw this morning. Just any message to them, any reassurance to them in these last couple weeks of school.
Sure, I think the same emotion that many parents have on a daily basis of dropping their child off on the bus stop or at school is the same emotion that we have as administrators, as board members, trustees, as teachers, administrators. We want and expect for our babies, our children to be safe on a daily basis. And we will go above and beyond to ensure that that happens on each one of our 280 some odd campuses. We never want to see something like this occur. And we will go, again, above and beyond with our preparation and the supports, socially and emotionally, and from a safety standpoint to do so. Thank you all very much. We appreciate you.